Giving all praises to Yahweh. Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bakar for giving us the understanding of the Holy Bible through their men, beginning with the apostles and the bishops of Great Millstone. These are the men that are worthy of what in the time that we're living in. We're living at the very end of the world, in the sense of the Greek word eon, which means an age, and that's according to Matthew 24, verse 3, which you can link up with 2nd Ezra 6, verse 9, concerning the end of Esau's world. Esau being the so-called white man, the so-called Caucasian race. They're also known as the wicked in the Bible, pursuant to Job chapter 9, verse 24, Malachi 1, verse 4, Isaiah 26 and 10, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, the good news is that we live at the end of their wicked kingdom, the end of their wicked rulership, which is good news for us Israelites, with these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So with that being said, Yahweh Hashem, Rakatodash, Rakafam, 344,000 servants as well as the remaining elect of Israel. Now this here, Lord willing, is going to be a very brief update to a video that I uploaded earlier this morning when I woke up, which was in regards to the MOTB as it pertains to the forehead, which is what we're looking at here in this article. As you see here, the headline reads, Bespoke Brain Implant Gives Long-Term Relief from Chronic Pain. Okay, again, the brain implant is the MOTB. MOTB being Mark of the Beast that we read about in the book of Revelation 13 and 16 as it pertains to one's forehead. Okay, and pretty much right now, we're in the full swing of Esau performing their miracles. And this is what's going to persuade more and more people, to get down with Esau's beast system as it pertains to, the microchip technology. Because they're going to see stuff like this as a great miracle, in which that's what the Bible refers to as being. Again, if you go to Revelation 19 and 20, which I brought out earlier in the video, the one that I done earlier, I go to Revelation 19 and 20 and it speaks about how, the beast wrought miracles with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, roughly paraphrasing. Okay, this is what we're seeing, great deception in terms of, Esau's pseudoscience, his pseudo-technology, and him coming with, the so-called breakthrough technological advancements, pertaining to people's health and whatnot. Alright? This is all going to be done through deception. And I can't remember how long ago I done a video, but I done a video on the word technology. And when you look into it, when you go into the etymology of the word technology, I believe it goes back to the word fabrication. The word technology really means to fabricate and deceive. Okay, I've done a lesson on it, so you can go to my channel and type in the word technology really means to deceive when you look into it. Anyway, the reason why this is significant is because, as I mentioned, the masses of people are going to see what we're looking at here in this article as a miracle of sort, especially those that actually live with chronic pain, right, which is pretty much a life of hell. And I'm sure people that live with chronic pain, they're looking for, any way out or anything, to relieve them of that pain. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's get the correct definition of what chronic pain is. What is chronic pain? Oh, let's try GPT. Chronic pain is persistent pain, meaning constant pain, that lasts for weeks, months, or even years. Okay, often continuing beyond the usual recovery period after an injury or illness. They can result from conditions like arthritis, nerve damage, or fibromyalgia, but sometimes the cause is unclear. Unlike acute pain, which signals immediate injury, chronic pain can affect physical and emotional well-being, often requiring ongoing management. You see that? See how discomforting it is to have chronic pain. So, ask yourself how many people out there actually suffer from chronic pain. There has to be millions of people out there that suffer from this condition, chronic pain. So for Esau to come with this breakthrough technology, as I mentioned, this is going to be a miracle unto millions of people. Millions of people. Alright? It says down here, a brain implant that detects when someone is in pain and responds with deep brain stimulation has helped relieve people from previously untreatable chronic pain, with one participant even becoming able to hug his wife for the first time in years. You see that? Okay. I guess one has to subscribe to this website in order to read the full article. But I mean, that's pretty much all we need. We get the gist of what's being said here. The point being is that we're definitely living in that time where Esau is going full steam ahead with this device, the implantable microchip implant, brain implants, okay, which ultimately is the mark of the beast, Revelation 16, and this is why our Lord Yahushua referred to the time that we're living in and the time that we're fastly approaching as the hour of temptation, which in other words is the great time to where our faith is going to be put to the test. Alright. Anyway, that's all I've got. I pray and hope that you brothers and sisters out there that shall be elect or edified. And until next time, I'll say Shalom.
Well, as they say, it's better to have a rehash lesson than no lesson at all. As you can see, Esau has cut the feed. He's fucking with the internet, so unable to go any further, but at least I had some articles pulled down before the internet was cut off earlier this morning. Shalom, first and foremost, like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are teaching this truth in sincerity, and shout out to Yakims out there in the four corners of the earth to proclaim this truth. Braka the Yahweh, Braka the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Brakatam. It just goes with what we've been saying before. Eventually, one day, you're going to wake up and it's going to be for good, Now this thing's tried to come online a couple times, so they're probably just fixing the connection anyways, but one day you won't be able to get on. You won't be able to find us because we won't be there anymore. For right now, enjoy this last ride. I call it the last ride because look at how many videos got taken down during that pandemic, that hoax, for what Esau calls misinformation, but was actually the true information, because what Esau was telling everybody to go and get the shot and get juicy juiced was actually real disinformation, saying that it was 100% safe, then changing the percentages, and yet people died after getting the shot. Oh, now all of a sudden there's a connection. See, now it says it's back online. Salakia. So, let me see if I can do a couple things here.
Okay, y'all, so I noticed that the behavior of animals have changed and humans of like, and maybe you guys can pitch in on this, right? I've lived in this area for about 3 years. When I first moved into this suburban community, right, I used to notice people were walking their dogs all the time. Fast forward to 2 years later, I don't see people walking their dogs out. Y'all, I even have a neighbor with 3 dogs. I never see them walking their dogs out at all. The dogs will come outside to use a bathroom in the backyard, but as soon as they're done, they'll start barking to be let back in, like immediately. They will not stay outside at all and play in the yard, and I've been noticing that for a lot of my neighbors as well too. Well, I'm coming across a lot of these videos that people are saying that animals are acting strange. Is anybody else experiencing this?
Animals are acting weird, right? My pets are acting weird. I've had a lot of reports of people in my spiritual community saying their pets are acting super strange, odd behavior, being extra clingy. Like my puppy is already a stage 5 clinger, but she somehow is trying to live inside my body now, like extra stage 6 clinger. I don't know, is that a thing? She is being so intense. My cats are acting weird. The animals are acting really, really strange. I've also seen a lot more interesting behavior from wild animals. I live kind of in the country, kind of on the edge of a town, and I see a lot of birds and hawks and squirrels and everything like that, but I've seen them, all the animals, in larger clusters than they usually are. It's really strange, and it's been very cold, so I haven't been outside like watching, but I can see this from just my windows in my house. So I want to know, are your animals acting strange? Are they having odd behavior? I have a very old, very grumpy cat who is not super friendly, not super snuggly, and not talkative at all. She has been been very vocal the past few weeks and increasing on that vocality.
Pet owners, I'm talking to you. Does anybody else have their pet acting really strange? Mine is acting very weird. I have one little dog, cutie pie, but she has been very strange lately, especially the last few days. She doesn't want to leave her side. Even go to the bathroom, she'll go up to the door and sit and wait for you. It's very strange. She's never done that. Now we look around the house, and it's either she's right here up under our skin, or she is gone somewhere. We have to go look for her, which is also very, very weird. Like right now, she is upstairs, probably in her little bed, in our bedroom. And I'm like, she is panting when it's not hot, and she's just unsettled. Is anybody else having pets that are acting very, very strange?
Is anybody's animals acting weird lately? I got something to show you. It's my puppy Morpheus. We're taking our daily walk. We do this every single day. We're here in the Armpit of Ohio. And ordinarily, he is on a 15-foot lead and ordinarily takes the whole 15 feet. But all day today, he hasn't done anything but stay, I don't know, at the most 5 or 6 feet away from me. Is anybody else's animals doing things like this? This is really weird. He's also acting like he's on high alert. He keeps looking up and around to see what's around him. But there isn't anything around. We're just in a park. It's really weird. Let me know if your animals are doing.
Is anybody else's dog acting insane? Like, is there about to be a fucking earthquake or something? Because my dog has not chilled the fuck out since like yesterday afternoon, and I don't know what is going on, but it's kind of actually now stressing me out. Like, he's just pacing back and forth, sitting at the end of my bed, just staring. And I'm like, if you could just talk and tell me what the fuck is about to happen, that would be great.
No, he's a golden, he's very sweet. I don't trust him, he's a dog. Okay, but the last 2 days, right? He's not wanted to go in his kennel at all, which is not unusual for him. He kind of like sulks about it, but this is like straight up laying down, refusing unless you pick him up and put him in there. Hi, he's doing this, where he needs to be like eye to eye with me all the time. And then he actually snapped at my husband. And tonight he was sitting in the kennel and he was just barking over and over again. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Okay, I have had a pregnancy test. I had a blood pregnancy test because of my meds. I'm not pregnant. So I don't know what's bothering him.
That doesn't look like my dog. That does not look like Hazel. Ew! Who are you?
Yeah, people saying their animals are acting strange.
What are you looking at? Stop. I'm going to bed. You're scaring me. Why are you looking at me like that?
They all keep looking at things.
What the fuck? Oh my god, bye.
A lot of them are panting, they're whimpering, like they're acting brand new sometimes, like they don't know that person. And it almost feels like something is in the room with the people, because they keep looking at the walls and the ceilings. And then see, he backs away. Look. Look at this. Look at this Doberman. Says it feels like he sees something that we don't. And he's looking straight ahead. And it's starting to freak them out. Look. He's looking straight ahead. What is he looking at? People have been saying their dogs have been acting like this for weeks. This dog tries to get in the shower with her owner and won't stop sniffing her. And forget being right by her side. He literally wants to be inside of her. It's like they feel some type of energy around him. You see, look at this one. He's just staring at nothing or at the wall. What is it that they see? What is it that they see? Look at the eyes of the dog. What can they see that we can't?
Bro, I don't know what's wrong with this dog. I don't know if it's mechanical, but like it's been doing this the whole day. Okay, alright, just good boy. Just stay over there with that weird stuff, because I don't know what.
Yeah, I remember now, in all of these movies, they tell us that the animals are going to be the ones to let us know when things are starting to change, and everybody's animals right now are acting weird. They are picking up on the subtle electromagnetic energies that are in the air that are appearing to be different to them. Even us, a lot of us are sensitive to this energy that's in the atmosphere right now, but we're just not saying anything. But the animals are acting strange, like something bigger is here. What do you guys think it is, man? The shift is here and it is real. The animals are feeling it. Let's get it, y'all. Peace and
grab your families, pull them close tonight, this weekend. Tell them how much you love them. Tell them how much you care about them. Things are going to get really bad. Things are going to change very rapidly in the United States. Many of you don't know who I am, what I do, what I know. But there's two things I can say. Cherish time with your family and prepare for hard times ahead. Pray like you've never prayed before. Have faith.
This is Matthew 16, verse 1. The Pharisees also the Sadducees came and tempted and desired him, and that him is referring to Yahushua, that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times? I would like to start off by saying, Kahalayim, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rakakradash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all your sincere Akim, pushing his word across the four corners of the world. So for these opening videos, as you saw, a lot of people are going on social media and stating how their animals or pets have been acting very weird lately. And I was looking up on Google AI overview and I asked, can animals sense danger? And the answer from AI overview is stated, yes, many animals can sense danger, including natural disasters like earthquakes, tsunamis, and storms, often moments or days before humans. This ability stems from their heightened senses, allowing them to detect subtle environmental cues such as micro vibrations, infrasound, or low frequency rumblings, changes in air pressure, or chemical shifts in groundwater. So these animals have natural instincts when they can be able to detect like natural disasters or something very sinister about to get ready to take place upon the earth. Then on top of that, you have these 5G towers, these AI data centers, and also CERN. And CERN is the European Organization for Nuclear Research. And CERN operates the largest particle physics laboratory within the world. And recently, you've been having different whistleblowers coming out from CERN, and they have been admitting that they are communicating with entities from the other side. And that links up with end-time biblical prophecy. Because when you read Wisdom of Solomon 11th chapter, it goes into about newly created creatures or wild beasts that are going to be full of rage, things of that sort. And that's by these different individuals working at CERN, opening up these portals. And who knows what that's coming into this earth. So we are definitely within some very strange times. And that takes me again right here within Matthew 16 verse 3. And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but can you not discern the signs of the times? And the signs of the times are these divine global occurrences or events that's building up to the second arrival or the second coming of our Lord and Savior, Yahushua. And it's a heavy social media trend right now of a lot of people stating you can sense or feel something very dangerous or menacing about to get ready to take place upon this earth. And through the spirit, you can definitely feel it. It's just the vast majority of these people, they cannot spiritually pinpoint it back into the volume of the book. And that takes me to Ephesians chapter 5, verses 15 to 16 within the GNT, the Good News translation. So be careful how you live. Don't live like ignorant people, but like wise people. Make good use of every opportunity you have, because these are evil days. And the word evil goes into bad times, which signifies these times that we are currently in that are leading up to a time frame that this world has never seen nor experienced before, which is Jacob's trouble. And we are definitely within the initial stages of that. So again, so be careful how you live. Don't live like ignorant people. That's referring to the 2/3 of our people and also these other heathen nations as well, who do not have the gift of the Holy Spirit, aka by having a gift of discernment, where you're able to measure the times diligently within itself. Like seeing what's going on with current news or current events, and you filter it out with the Holy Scriptures, which is that measuring rod. So don't live like ignorant people, but like wise people. Make good use of every opportunity you have, because these are evil days. And that make good use of every opportunity, which means intentionally maximizing every moment or situation or chance. And through the Spirit, that means by kissing the Son, like getting all the spiritual brownie points as we can, so therefore we can be within good grace when all hell breaks loose within this society and throughout the whole world. And as the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, we are using this grace period as a valuable resource. And we are trying our best to be godly and productive within this grace period, while the vast majority of our people are currently playing around. And that takes me right here to 2 Peter 3:11 within the NLT, the New Living Translation. Since everything around us is going to be destroyed like this, what holy and godly lives you should live. And our conversation as the hopeful elect is in heaven. We are stashing up our spiritual treasures within heaven, because this thing that we call life right now is not life. We are only existing. And through the Spirit, we know that this American society and wherever we are scattered to across the four corners of the world as the hopeful elect, that this place is not our rest. Like this is not our continuing city. But we do seek one to come, which is that better promise that Yahushua gave to us. So by that, since everything around us is going to be destroyed like this, what holy and godly lives you should live. Looking forward to the day of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, and hurrying it along. On that day, he will set the heavens on fire and the elements will melt away in the flames. But we are looking forward to the new heavens and new earth he has promised, a world filled with Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua's righteousness. However, the vast majority of our people that are currently within their grace period as well, they are still walking down into Egypt, which is spiritually or biblically codified as America. And they are strengthening themselves within the strength of Pharaoh. And the modern day Pharaoh is Esau Edom via Trump. And you might have some of our people that do not support Trump, but they still within that spirit of rebranding or hoping for America to be made great again. And the scriptures clearly tells us that you cannot heal Babylon. So therefore they still trust within the shadow of Egypt, which is going to be their confusion when this grace period is over with. So these different animals, they have the natural instincts, and where some studies call it the sixth sense, and they could be able to detect when danger is approaching. And as the hopeful elect, we have that sixth sense, which is the gift of the Holy Spirit, and where we have that spiritual intuition and to be able to discern the signs of thy times. And that takes me to Jeremiah 8:7. Yea, the stork in the heaven knoweth her appointed times, and the turtle and the crane and the swallow observe the time of their coming. So the stork, the turtle, the crane, and the swallow are a part of the bird species. And these birds are so intuitive to their senses that they can be able to detect when they see that bad weather or that bad storm coming, and they can be able to migrate to a better region for safety and shelter. Like they are spiritually inclined to discern the signs of the times. Like seeing that bad weather coming, like sensing like something very ominous or very threatening is coming. But it says right here, but my people, referring to you biblical Israelites, who are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and within this context, the 2/3 of our people who wander it out of that light, and they are considered as the congregation of the dead. My people know not the judgment of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. So throughout all of these end-time biblical prophecies are the signs of thy times. And one of those many telltale signs is by the true prophets of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua being out here within the cool of the day, the calm before the storm, that are heralding the second coming of our Lord and Savior Yahushua. Like the vast majority of our people cannot spiritually pinpoint all of these divine spiritual indicators, omens, tokens, these divine catastrophic events or occurrences, and to be spiritually inclined to tie it in with the volume of the book. So by them not seeing that bad storm or that bad weather coming, hence those proud waters when you read the book of Psalm 124:5, which goes into Esau's armies, those proud waters, and how they're going to be coming in droves. Like, for example, those ancient Romans, when they came in droves, like legions. And Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah is going to point the rod of his anger, again referencing to Esau, Edom, and to bring much hell, anguish, terror upon that hypocritical nation. Again, the 2/3 of our people who are not taking their grace period serious and definitely not watching for the signs of our times. Like, they see that bad storm approaching, but they still want to play outside and not come inside the house for shelter or safety. And through the spirit, that means that they are profane, meaning outside the temple. And they're going to be caught so spiritually lacking out there that they're not going to have no spiritual coverage of all the elements of judgment that Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua is going to bring upon them. So that concludes the lesson right there through the spirit. Hopefully with that, you all stay edified, you all stay strong, keep pushing forward. Shalom.
So, as I was saying before, there's going to be coming a time when we're not even going to be able to even get a limited feed or whatever. You know, it'll ask for ID, online ID, because that happened in Europe. It's already happening in the UK. You know, you can't even get online without some sort of internet ID proof, you know. And that's what's going to happen to our videos, you know. If it's already happening in one place, you know that, you know, UK is Mother Babylon, and Babylon the Great is Daughter Babylon. So it's already happening, you know. They are, you know, coming after us, you know, coming after this truth. And one day, you're not going to be able to find it. You're going to run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh's Shai, but you're not going to find it. And so here's what's going on in Babylon the Great. I guess Chump might say, well, here's the hilariousness of it, you know, just, you know, Chump admits immigration crackdown needs softer touch. You know, just be a little more gentle. Okay, boys, just don't be so rough. Okay, boys, calm down. You know, if they were really just, you know, really deporting people. But you know what they're really doing. They're just shooting to kill just for the fuck of it, right? You know, just because, and they're showing brute force and etc., right? But it's like, okay, boys, calm down, as he's smirking and laughing. U.S. President Trump admitted the immigration enforcement could use a softer touch after ISIS shot and killed 2 citizens during operations against Minneapolis last month. The killings have ignited a renewed wave of protests against the ongoing ISIS crackdown. In an interview with NBC News published on Thursday, Trump was asked what he had learned from the events in Minnesota. Maybe we could use a little bit of a softer touch. You know how George Bush, the first one, said, we just need to be a kinder, gentler nation. But you still have to be tough, he said, you know. So he's just smirking about it, laughing. The president stressed that so-called deportation, because that's not what they're doing. They're just doing whatever the fuck they want. That ISIS was targeting really hard criminals. Bullshit! You know? I'm not too happy with 2 instances. Nobody can be happy that ISIS wasn't happy either. He said, stressing that despite this, he has to back law enforcement. You know, they're not law enforcement. They're nothing more than fucking people that couldn't get into the fucking police force because they were too fucked up to be in the police force. So now they got into ISIS. These are not even real cops. These are nothing more than people that can't even make it, you know. And they're trained by the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, you know, those terrorists. Mossad. So ISIS is nothing more than Israeli secret intelligence services. As it is over there, it is over here. What's on one side is on the other. U.S. beef cow cycle low set to deepen, keeping steak prices high. Well, that shouldn't be a surprise, right? Bloomberg data shows that the total U.S. cattle herd size nears a 75-year low. And they're doing this on purpose because, you know, Bill Gates and everybody else wants you to eat genetically modified foods. You know, Beyond Meat, etc. You know, they just want you to eat this processed garbage. You know, that's just going to fucking kill you right there. You know. Trump says U.S. and Russia should negotiate new nuclear treaty instead of extending the New START. So like everything else, though, they're going to give you this idea that they have peace. You know, when they shall say peace and security, then comes the sudden destruction. President Trump said that the U.S. and Russia should negotiate a new nuclear arms treaty instead of extending the New START, the last piece of nuclear arms control between the two powers, which expired on Thursday. Rather than extend the New START, we should have our nuclear experts work on a new, improved, and modernized treaty that could last long into the future. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President wrote on Tuesday. What a joke. Yeah, the sudden destruction is going to come. And it's when they make their moves against Iran, and you know there's more and more talks about attacking Iran. You know, that's been very high and it's still in the news. Trump extends Africa free trade agreement after easing tariff fears amid tensions. U.S. President Trump signed into law this week extending free trade agreement for some African nations until the end of the year. D.C.'s chief trade negotiator said. The U.S. House of Representatives passed legislation in January to extend the law for 3 years, but the Senate later limited the extension to 1 year, which the House concurred with. The agreement has also backdated until September, when it expired. So, like everything else, though, you know, the threats of tariffs, etc., that's still on the table. Trump last year boycotted the G20 major economies hosted by the rotating presidency. In November, Trump said South Africa would not be invited to G20 meetings, which he claimed is because they're shooting Edomites and getting rid of the Edomites that stole their land. I mean, why would they be upset? I mean, shouldn't Esau be allowed to steal and do whatever the fuck he wants to? And if you don't go along with them, they can do whatever the fuck they want to. So it's like, do what the fuck, you know, let us do what the fuck we want, or else we're going to use force to do what the fuck we want. Doesn't sound like there's any room for compromise. Nonetheless, that's how this devil operates. Beijing cancels Panama deals after court blocks Chinese port operations. This move comes as Trump pushes to curb Chinese influence over strategic infrastructure in the Americas. You know, pretty much though, you know, he's got control of Venezuela. He's making his threats against Cuba and Mexico. You know, to seize control of this whole area. Chinese authorities asked state-owned companies to suspend talks on new projects in Panama in response to the Central American nation's cancellation of a contract with China's Hutchinson Holdings to operate 2 ports along its strategic canal. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman issued a statement saying that the Panamanian Supreme Court ruling ignores the facts, violates credibility while harming the interests of Chinese companies. So, like everything else, though, these are moves being made, you know, to block China, you know, in this trade war, which is going to lead to the Third World War as well. All nations are going to be involved in it. If you hadn't guessed, they're already involved with it. It's just going to get worse. Everything's going to get worse when they say that, oh, we got to agree. Oh, we finally got a trade agreement after threatening tariffs, etc. You know, eventually all these places are going to fire their missiles against Babylon. And it's going to be great to see. Well, there was an assassination attempt. Russian generals shot in suspected assassination attempt. Vladimir Askov, first deputy chief of military intelligence, was targeted outside his home in Moscow. Investigative committee has said, I believe this is a Mossad operation. Lieutenant General Vladimir Alyskov, first deputy chief of Russia's main intelligence directorate, was shot several times in the back outside his residence in the western part of the capital. The statement said it added that Alyskov had been taken to the hospital but did not offer further details on his condition. Yeah. Officials stated that the shooter had fled the scene and is being sought by police, investigators, or forensic teams working at the scene. Well, like everything else, so these are trained, high-ranking but let's just see this. Hold on a second. Lyskov, 64, is one of Russia's most senior military intelligence officials, having served as first deputy head of the GRU since 2011, a role which he oversaw anti-terrorist operations in Syria. Well, you know that Israeli state's always wanted their way in Syria, but now Turkey has come in, and Hayat al-Sham is more aligned with Turkey and Russia. In 2017, he was awarded the title of Hero of the Federation, one of the country's highest distinctions. Yeah, this is what Israeli state does. They take out high-ranking officials because they want to weaken the nations. And you already know about this assassination that did take place over last week. Gaddafi's supporters left without rallying figure after Saif al-Islam's killing. Gaddafi's son had significant symbolic weight, and his assassination could alter Libya's already turbulent security and political landscape, analysts say. Well, like everything else, though, it's pretty much going to stay in a dead state. There's no chance of a rebirth. Rumors surrounding the killing of Saif al-Islam Gaddafi sparked immediate agitation on Libyan social media Tuesday night. A few hours into the early morning, Libya's Attorney General confirmed that the son of the former longtime leader Muammar Gaddafi had designated heir had been shot dead. At this stage, the political consequences of Saif al-Islam's killing remain difficult to assess. Well, like everything else, though, it stays destabilized. No chance of coming back to the way things used to be. And that's what happens, when you decide, okay, I'm going to lower my armaments, and I'm going to do what the U.S. says. And he made that mistake, and they took him out. But he had also warned his neighbors. He warned Bashar al-Assad that they'll be coming for him. And Bashar al-Assad kind of laughed at him. I don't think it's a laughing matter now, because Bashar al-Assad did fall at the end of 2024. Russia's UN envoy rejects military operation against Iran, calls for diplomacy. Well, you know how Trump has been threatening military action, saying, oh, the Armada's on the way, and we're going to take out Ayatollah Khomeini and they're going to fall like Venezuela. Making utter rhetoric. We hope that the U.S. and its allies will resort to wisdom and behave more constructively. Any military solutions are unacceptable, dangerous, and may trigger regional consequences, he told Russian journalists. He added that pressure against the Islamic Republic intensified earlier this year, noting that the campaign to denigrate Iran continued with renewed vigor. Like everything else, though, just saying, look, man, don't escalate matters here. And, of course, Trump on his rhetoric, Iran doesn't want the U.S. to hit them. Yeah, right. Well, maybe not. I mean, I'll give it that, but at the same time, though, they're ready to fight if you have to. Iran does not want the U.S. to attack. President Trump said Thursday. They don't want us to hit them, Trump said. They're negotiating, he added, on the U.S. military buildup in the region. He said, we have a big fleet going over to Iran. Trump's remarks come ahead of indirect nuclear talks set to begin between Iran and the U.S. in Oman's capital, Muscat, as of Friday, which is yesterday. So, we'll take a look at that a little bit here, while this internet is up, because, again, they keep cutting it. Ahead of U.S.-Iran talks, Netanyahu tells cabinet that conditions could lead to further regime change in Tehran, which is ultimately what they wanted. Times of Israel reported that Netanyahu convened the same message that he delivered during a Knesset committee meeting earlier in the day, where he said that there is a buildup of conditions toward a critical mass that could bring about the downfall of the Iranian regime, though he also reportedly said that he was unsure if those conditions would be sufficient to topple the government. Earlier this week, Netanyahu met with U.S. envoy Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law, Kushner, who would be leading the U.S. talks with Iran on Friday. According to a statement from Netanyahu's office, he told the pair that Tehran cannot be trusted. It's the same rhetoric over and over again. U.S. and Iran open Muscat talks as Tehran warns of negotiations under military pressure. Long-stalled nuclear negotiations resume in Oman, testing the prospects for U.S.-Iran diplomacy against a backdrop of regional tension. Iranian and American diplomats began talks in Muscat Friday, which come amid mounting U.S. pressure against Tehran and a delayed start to the negotiations. Following the 2-hour delay, the talks formally got underway, marking the first engagement between Iranian and American officials since the U.S. launched its terror attacks against Iran last year. The precise agenda had not been disclosed, with Washington and Tehran entering the discussions with differing priorities and reports that the talks will be indirect. So, like everything else, though. Well, you know, history has a way of repeating itself. And like everything else, so this is a rehashed video, so, you know, I kind of did some snippets, you know, just so that way the internet stays on. You know, and that you get a full video while they try to fix the internet. From 1978 Black Friday to 2026 riots, how history keeps repeating itself in Iran. By revisiting the tragedy of the 8th of September 1978, and enumerating similar on contrasting behavioral indicators of foreign and expert investigators and perpetrators, we seek to demonstrate that in both events we are confronted with recurring pattern. Use of violence and hard confrontation alongside cognitive warfare and narrative engineering, which occurred in early January 2026, was not a sudden eruption of violence. It was the result of an operation that, above all else, began in the realm of the mind and perception. Deceived operatives were told that the prince was on his way. They were told to take comfort in the support of U.S. President Trump and Israeli Premier Netanyahu, and to be confident that the fall of the Islamic Republic was imminent. Promises of money, weapons, and foreign back turned them into the foot soldiers of terrorist urban warfare campaign, aka Daesh terrorists, whose foreign roots and origins, despite efforts to erase traces, were undeniable. So, like everything else, though, you know, they had failed to overthrow the government, which they tried it once in 1978, but it didn't work either. Eventually, the Islamic Republic had taken control, but they tried. They tried to stop it, and it's been a thorn in their side ever since, because, you know, Ayatollah Khomeini is very well renowned. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up while I still have this, and like everything else, hopefully tomorrow they'll have... Well, I'm going on the streets tomorrow anyways, so... be hitting the streets and doing camp tomorrow, but nonetheless, though, you know, just hopefully, you know, everything stays afloat so I can get everything up. But you know how Esau is, right? So, you know, this devil's scheming. But he has been sought out. He has been found out. I mean, we go over these time and time again. Jeremiah chapter 49 verse 20. Therefore hear the counsel of the Most High that he has taken against Edom, and his purposes that he has proposed against the inhabitants of Teman, aka Babylon the Great, America. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out, aka talking about Amalek, talking about the Israeli state. Surely he shall make their dwelling places desolate because of them. You know, and that's ultimately because of everything else that they're doing and engaging in this war that they cannot win. Well, that's all going to come to fruition very soon, and the Most High Yahweh will send Yahushua and the angels to finish Esau Edom, which includes Russia and all its forces. So that's coming. So hopefully all this has been edifying. Salakia that I have to rehash old videos just to snip it together, but it's what you got to do sometimes when he's fucking with the feed. Raka the Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wa Abal Babal. Brakatum, Jehovah elect. Shalom.
Shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. Let's give all our praise and glory to our power, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Brakatum. Double honors and mighty shalom to the teachers and preachers of great ministers that rule and teach well, starting from the apostles on down to the elders. They gave us 100% truth of the biblical script, including the repentance by our Lord Hamashiach, Yahushai, the man the world ignorantly calls. Our name with a J. It's not his name, the man who delivered the gospel back to us hopeful like Israelites, reclaiming us through the spirit and power of the reclamation unto our Lord, that blood sacrifice, where the Lord went up on the cross, and the belief on his sacrifice redeemed us from these bodies of death, whereby we live and reside in sin against our power. Because we did not all get raised keeping the laws, statutes, commandments of the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushua, the Creator, the Ten Commandments, the dietary laws, the sundry laws, the clothing laws, right? The high holy days. We were not keeping all those things. Many of those to fall away from as a judgment. Many of those as a judgment onto removal from the existence, right? And we know the grace and mercy and pause on judgment until such the times of this age are fulfilled, whereby the world, much like in the times of Noah, were judged at once, being taken over by a flood, and those, the righteous of the earth, Noah's family, were preserved in an ark, and the rest were destroyed. And the Most High consulted that he would never again, so you weirdos thinking in Africa that the place is going to get flooded again or whatever, they're building that ark. The scriptures don't say that. The Most High said he was never going to flood the earth with water again. That he would test. He also testified. The scary thing is, when he flooded, he testified he'd never do it again with water. And the next would be a fire. Pretty scary. So this second death is going to be much worse. And we can see the articles of that second death, those nuclear armaments, those ICBM nuclear missiles, bombs, torpedoes, and all sorts of terrible autonomous weapons that can be optioned out with thermonuclear, hydrogen nuclear tipped weapons for mass destruction. We can see the indication of that end by fire, or the indication that man was going to bring forth the devices of death upon the earth, and they were going to propagate the sword to such a level that it would bring an end to his own kingdom. That him is Esau and Edom, the wicked of the earth, the generations of the so-called white man. Now we don't know if this man on the left actually is an Edomite, but the complexion is there. This is not a white person. We can see that these pages are white, and that his blood shows through his skin, and it is red. His hair is white, much like our Lord's, white and woolly, which is makes me wonder. People understand color and texture, but when it gets to modern-day fake religion, they completely throw color and texture out the window for modern iconography, which doesn't align with scriptural description, which is another thing that we have flipped. The literal interpretation of the scriptures, the hope of our calling, the completion of the gospel, which is the end of this age. The gospel testifies of the nation of Israel being lifted up as the ruling party on the earth again. Much like the so-called white man and his banking families, his ruling elite and his governments are holding the height of the hill and the authority in the earth today, whether it be the Western powers that be system or the global South, right? It's all ran by the so-called white man system. His multi-tier banking, ruling elite, and his authoritarian corporatocracy, corporate-occupied governments, where really it's large corporations that decide how resources get cultivated, and the governments give the check in the box to give the authority and weapons available to go and get those resources, no matter where they are. And America's the chief of the violator of people in the earth, and we know that. Much like the authoritative processes here are the people within those authoritative processes. This place puts out monsters, right? All sorts of terrible people, because the rulers of thereof are just like those people. So, here's an indication of that, right? Esau, Edom, is what it looks like here on the left. An elected official, caught. And this is the time where the curses are falling on them, y'all. They used to get away with this. They used to be, what was it called, never busted, never untouchable, right? Now we're seeing shameful spewing, we're seeing all sorts of stuff. The indications at the end, this is why we bring these things up. I know this is a simple thing that, hey, this guy's putting illicit substances in ice cream he's giving to his relatives' children. Probably for creepy purposes, obviously, right? Because who spikes ice cream and gives it to youngsters without some plot, right? Grander plot. And we know that's the Edomite all over. Insatiable desire for an inappropriate affection, whether it's other humans or animals or whatever it is. Fake God, science, just unrighteously obsessed with nasty things. Things that go against the will of the scriptures, right? Drugs like that's witchcraft, young. But we know that's how America's sinned the greatest. It's pushed its ways, its pharmaceuticals, its witchcraft, its ideologies, its drug culture. The world has picked up the U.S. drug culture. This is the place where all the stupid music and the parties and all the bread and circus is just cranking it out. Right? And the world has picked up the ways, right? The festivals and all the crap. This place is going to go to a time where there's not going to be the fun and merriment anymore. The daughters of music are going to be brought low. Those who are gleeful and living carelessly, especially those on the welfare system, figuring out how to get off the government and then continue fleecing their male counterparts of their fucking society, whether we talk about the dark-skinned woman, the dark-skinned man, our Israelite brothers, sisters, the dynamic there has been extremely restricted. And it's because these people here, over here on the left, are ruling. They have no morals. This is the stuff they do. And it's coming out. They used to get away with this stuff. They used to bury this stuff. Now there's transparency. Now we're seeing all these things abroad. The fame of these people is their wickedness, is their sword, their multinational military-industrial complex that has sold the world over and created a destabilized status quo everywhere, right? Through the destabilization and propagation of military armaments places that don't belong to them, right? That's why in the future these people are going to be under lock and key. So saith the scriptures. That these people will be a continual employment. You can't let them aloof, or they do all these weird things. They have to be put under the authority of the Israelites, under the authority of the Most High's children, so that they can keep the law, statutes, commandments, and not be aloof criminals. It says Esau's a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. They're just perpetuating this stuff. They have no moral foundation. They don't have any statutes. This is why it says in the scriptures that these nations would be like, look at this. Let's just read it real quick. It'd say, surely this is a wise and understanding people, right? Check it out. Deuteronomy 4. Behold, I've taught you statutes and judgments, Deuteronomy 4 and 5, even as the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, my power commanded me that you should do so in the land whether you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. The other nations would see us Israelites working out these righteous statutes and judgments, which are righteous to keep, which keep us healthy and the world healthy, the existence, right? It's the things that cultivate it into harmony, right? Which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who have the power so nigh unto them as the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, our power is in all things that we call upon it for? And what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments, righteous laws and judgments, right? Which create righteousness and not perpetuate wicked people who are just aloof, vagabond, wicked people, right? Because this law is not applied to everyone in the same way, right? What nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? The Israelites are the only nation. Right? Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently. And how you do that? Lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, and lest thou depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. Right? How do we get mercy to 1,000 generations who love me and keep my commandments? We have to love the Lord power Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, have no other power above him, and keep his ways to the best of his ability. Knowing we can't keep all his commandments in this time, right? We have the Lord Yahweh to cover us, that blood covering. But we have to be not willfully ignorant of those things that are laid before us in the scriptures for the hope of our calling, the obtaining of the gospel, and the footing whereby we are able to walk toward that salvation by actions and contemplations, right? Self-introspect, right? Examining ourselves. Let's touch on another bit. Right? We wanted to touch that people like this that are ruling the earth, their rulers are just like the people at the very bottom of the totem pole. Right? As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwelleth therein. And who's ruling this time? The Edomite. He is the evil, the wicked, the devil of the earth. All the lies, destruction, deception comes from him. Here's a little bit of this.
Is advised that you want to share the very latest from law enforcement.
As you know, I'm going to correct the date. It doesn't change anything with the case. In the initial release I put out August 8th. An officer was flagged down at the sheets at the corner of Shipyard Boulevard and Independence. It was actually August 3rd, so that's my mistake. But on August 3rd, a patrol officer was flagged down at the Sheets gas station at the corner of Shipyard Boulevard and Independence, and was advised that 2 teenage girls had located some pills in their blizzards, which is, as you probably know, is an ice cream product you can get from Dairy Queen. There were paramedics that were already there at the Sheets. They weren't specifically called for this incident. In fact, that's actually why we believe that they stopped there. The paramedics checked them out. It did not appear that the juveniles had ingested any of the foreign substances that were located in their ice creams. The officer confiscated the pills. A presumptive field test was conducted on those pills. We'll talk about that here in a little bit too if you have questions. The field test is presumptive in nature. Okay, it's not a laboratory test. That comes later. That is in progress right now as we speak. Based on the presumptive test and the totality of everything going on, safe to say one thing led to another. Report was taken. That report was forwarded up to our Criminal Investigations Division, which any report that has follow-up factors is forwarded up to them. A detective began investigating the case. Obviously, that involves going to the scene of the crime, talking to those involved. During that investigation, surveillance video was discovered and handed over to the Wilmington Police Department that clearly shows Mr. Yoakley placing pills in the ice cream. Based on that, other investigations...
We're just going to leave it there. So Esau did it. He put his finger in there, saw the video. He's putting drugs in his fucking granddaughter's ice cream. That's insane, dude. And these are the people, he's a city official, right? Election official. Insane, y'all. And this is going down these days. This is 6 hours ago. We're here, y'all. This is the end times kind of shit. This is just insane, y'all. Stay prayed up. Stay fearing him. Stay in the faith. Call Allah Yabashim Yahushua. Until next lesson. Shalom.